Currently, it is 59 degrees here on the campus of Florissant Valley Community College. I'm your host, Jell, and this is your noon news update. Sorry for a little bit of confusion there for a minute. One person is dead after being hit by a car in Berkeley. The incident happened last night in the 5400 block of James S. McDowell Boulevard. The driver remained at the scene and is cooperating with police. The victim hasn't been identified. Someone in St. Louis is a lot richer after winning the lottery. A Powerball ticket sold at Wallace Petroleum on Watson Road in Sunset Hills matched all 5 white ball numbers drawn Saturday for a $1 million prize. A $50,000 winning Powerball ticket was sold at a Quick Trip in North Main Street in St. Peters. St. Louis police are investigating 5 carjackings in the city since Saturday night. Authorities say the most recent incident happened yesterday when a woman had her vehicle stolen in the 3400 block of Connecticut Street. Her vehicle was later recovered near Kings Highway and Natural Bridge, and a suspect was taken into custody. The White Dove sign outside West County Center in De Pere is being refurbished. The sign was taken down yesterday morning. Upgrades include replacing the light's white poly faces and replacing the existing metal halide lights with new color-changing LEDs. The project is expected to take 2 to 3 weeks. And the chess boom in St. Louis will be featured on the next edition of Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel on HBO. The story will focus on the influence of Rex Sinkfield, who is the founder of the World Chess Hall of Fame and St. Louis Chess Club. It touches on how the successful financial executive has attracted numerous grandmasters to play at the club in high-profile tournaments and paid for them to live in the city. The episode debuts tonight. Now on to the weather. Today it is sunny with a high of 62, low of 37. Tomorrow it will be mostly sunny, high of 60, low of 42. Tomorrow it will be cloudy, high of 57, low of 43. Friday we've got showers in the morning, high of 54, low of 41. And Saturday it will be partly cloudy, high of 57, low of 43. Currently, it is 59 degrees here at KCFV. I'm Jell, and this has been your noon news update. But please stay tuned, because after a short break, we will be back with GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. We kick the show off with new game releases for this week, what's coming out next weekend, what anime are in theaters, before going into all sorts of different video game news. But until then, here is Red Letter Day by Steve Shaw, here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. That was Red Letter Day by Steve Shaw here on 89.5 FM, KCFV, The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and this is GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. Once again, I am your host, Jell. We'd like to kick the show off with new game releases for this week, what's coming out next week, what anime are in theaters, and then we dive into all sorts of different video game news and information, such as how Sony is stepping up their censorship games, why Soul Calibur VI is a complete mess that's still fun to play, even if they're technically reselling us an 11-year-old game, and so on. Oh yes, it's quite interesting. There kind of was no show last week due to technical reasons. Because the station was all busy and stuff. But this week, we got a lot of stuff to cover. But first, the new game releases for this week. So, today, we've got on PlayStation 4, we like to kick things off PlayStation 4. PlayStation 4, we got Halloween Forever, then Grid Retro Enhanced, which I did pick up on Switch. It's nice that it's a rail shooter, but it's actually not that great. Just Dance 2019. Marvel's Spider-Man The Heist, so hey, some DLC for that. Mind Labyrinth, VR Dreams. I'm going to assume that's a VR game. Never Out. Nickelodeon Kart Racers. Paw Patrol on a Roll. Spin Tires Mud Runner American Wilds and Spin Tires Mud Runner American Wilds Edition. I love this list sometimes. We're going off of game FAQs, by the way. Then we've got Word Logic by Paugi. Then, tomorrow we've got Bugs Box VR and Sky Hill. Then Bendy and the Ink Machine comes to PS4 on Friday, along with Castlevania Requiem, Symphony of the Night, and Rondo of Blood, Chicken Range, and My Hero One's Justice, along with the DLC character Endeavor, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Holy crap, Red Dead Redemption 2 is this week. That's a thing. Moving on, Xbox One this week is getting Just Dance 2019, Nickelodeon Kart Racers, Paw Patrol On a Roll, Project High Rise, Architects Edition, and Spin Tires Mud Runner American Wild Edition. Midnight Deluxe, Sky Hill, My Hero One's Justice, and Red Dead Redemption 2. Moving on, Nintendo Switch this week is getting Bass Pro Shops, The Strike Championship Edition, and Cabela's The Hunt Championship Edition. Just Dance 2019, Nickelodeon Kart Racers, Party Arcade, Paw Patrol On a Roll, Windjammers, finally, 1001 Ultimate Mahjong 2, 7 Billion Humans, Aqua TV, Black and White Bushido, Car Quest, Chicken Range, Dracula's Legacy, Eternum EX, Fairy Tale Puzzles, Magic Objects, Friday the 13th, Killer Puzzle, Johnny Turbo's Arcade, Heavy Burger, I guess this is when it's been delayed too, Luke and Rebecca, Pianista, The Legendary Virtuoso, Pinstripe, Puzzle Wall, Storm in a Teacup, Suicide Guys, Sleepin' Deeply, Super Hyperactive Ninja, Word Puzzles by Paugi, 911 Operator Every Life Matters, 911 Operator Special Resources, Halloween Pinball, My Hero One's Justice, along with the DLC character Endeavor, and yeah, Skyscrapers. And Vita this week has Halloween Forever, Perils of Baking Refrosted, Word Logic by Paugi, and Chicken Range. While 3DS this week has Insect Planet TD. So, that sums up this week, but what about next week? Well, next week, PlayStation 4 is getting 8 to Glory, the official game of the PBR. Pabst Blue Ribbon? Arc Park, Call of Cthulhu, the official game. Dream Daddy, Dad Rector's Cut. Hero Defense, Kingdom Hearts, The Story So Far, which is a pack of all the other Kingdom Hearts games except for 3. Mutant Football League Dynasty Edition, I guess that keeps getting delayed, along with Cyvariar Delta. And Steep the X Games Pass, Deathmark, Super Pixel Racers, The Quiet Man, Taiko no Tatsujin Drum Sessions, and Valkyria Chronicles 4 Expert Level Skirmishes. Xbox One next week is getting 8 to Glory, the official game of the PBR. Call of Cthulhu, the official video game, Lego Harry Potter Collection, Mutant Football League Dynasty Edition, Steep, the X Game Pass, Super Pixel Racers, and Valkyria Chronicles 4 Expert Level Skirmishes. Nintendo Switch next week is getting America's Greatest Game Shows, Wheel of Fortune, and Jeopardy! Gal Metal, the new music game from Tak Fuji, the most extreme director in video games, along with the Gal Metal Encore Pack. Hasbro Game Night for Nintendo Switch, Lego Harry Potter Collection, Mutant Football League Dynasty Edition, Cyvariar Delta, Save Me Mr. Taco, Tasukete Taco-san, Sports Party, The Escapist 2, Yomawari, The Long Night Collection, Deathmark, Knock Knock, Numbala, Transistor, Diablo 3 Eternal Collection, Swap This, Taiko no Tatsujin Drubbin' Fun, and Cricketo Game. PlayStation Vita next week is getting Deathmark, and 3DS next week is getting absolutely nothing. So that sums up our new game releases for this week and next week. As for anime in theaters, Spirited Away will be in theaters October 28th dubbed, October 29th subbed, October 30th subbed. And November 9th through the 13th is Liz and the Bluebird. So that could be a thing. Let's see some other Novembers, because I think we might have something else going on. There we go. Dragon Ball Z double feature, Bardock, the Father of Goku, and Fusion Reborn will be in theaters November 3rd and November 5th, dubbed both times. Laputa, Castle in the Sky will be in theaters November 18th dubbed, November 19th subbed, and November 20th dubbed. Highly recommended. Like, seriously, if you're a fan of video games, you kind of need to see Laputa because it inspired pretty much the entire JRPG genre. You will find so many things that got referenced by it. Moving on, Pokemon the movie, The Power of Us, will be in theaters November 24th dubbed, November 26th dubbed, November 28th dubbed, and December 1st dubbed. And that sums it up. So that concludes our anime in theaters for this week, along with the new game releases for this week and next week. So, time for a quick break. And when we get back, we will begin with all sorts of different video game news and stuff. But until then, here is I Be Everywhere by LG DePrice. Here on 89.5 FM, KCFV, the Wave Diverse Music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. That was Wanna Be Here by 10 True. Here on 89.5 FM, KCFV, the Wave Diverse Music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. Good to be here. Sorry about the slightly bumbly opening. It's one of those things where when you're rushing into the studio, your brain gets overworked, it just stops working. I forget what buttons do what anymore. Because I was trying to get a shot for an episode for the YouTube channel, and the camera kept turning off. Because, that makes perfect sense, right? You get the camera set up, you set it all up, you get the shot all ready, you hit record, you do the shot, you go to retrieve the camera, and you're like, why'd the camera turn off? Oh, geez. And then you do the shot again, and it turns off again for no good reason. And then you do the shot a third time really, really fast, and I think it worked that time. It's something to work with. Namely, I was trying to get things ready for a potential episode about my wonderful adventures in PC VR headsets. This would be the last part of it, where I will have the reboxing montage, where I pack up the Oculus Rift, HTC Vive, and the Hewlett-Packard Face Vice. Ugh. And it's their Windows Mixed Reality headset. That's not what it's actually called. It's what it should be called. And, pack them all up, send them back to Amazon. It's what we're doing. Because, oh, buddy, the winner of that little adventure would have to be the Lenovo Explorer. It has the worst tracking of the bunch, but it's the only one that doesn't cause physical pain. To those of you first joining us and going, wait, what do you mean causes physical pain? You mean motion sickness? No, I don't get motion sickness from VR. Shoot, I was playing F-Zero in VR earlier, because there's ways. There are ways. There's some very interesting things you can do with VR on PC. But, yeah. No, I don't really get motion sick from VR. I mean, they cause physical pain. There's this little thing no one's talking about, and that's the fact that the Oculus Rift doesn't work with most glasses. The face hole is too small. And when you put it on, it takes your glasses, and it stabs you in the face with them. It says, hey, this is a great idea. So, okay. I want you to imagine my situation. Here I am. I love VR. Love my PlayStation VR. It's the best thing ever. Come into some money. I desperately need to upgrade my computer, right? I mean, the computer I've been using to do episodes is not only chugging, but it makes kind of funny noises and gets really warm. About time to get a new computer. Happy to get some money. Happy to get a new computer. Get that all set up. Get something really good that'll last me a hot minute. And it's like, if I'm getting a new computer, I'm going to get a VR headset. I've been drooling over this because, of course, all the VR games they start on PC before being ported to PSVR like a freaking year later, if not two. And so I'm like, I want to get this. I want to get in there. I spend weeks researching what the best VR headset is. I decide Oculus Rift going to be the best bet. I order it so that way it comes the day before my computer gets there. Spend an entire week clearing out this space for my VR zone. The headset comes in the mail, I open the box, I put it on, and it stabs me in the face with my own glasses. I am then told that, the HTC Vive works way better with glasses. So I order that, And it works slightly better with glasses, except the HTC Vive's head strap is a busted piece of garbage. I was initially excited, downloaded, bought a bunch of VR games on PC, was playing them on the HTC Vive, only to realize that once again, it hurt to wear the freaking thing. See, first of all, if you're wearing it with glasses, you can't just slip it on and off. You have to completely unstrap and restrap the entire headset. And the stupid Velcro contraption they call a head strap for the HTC Vive is freaking terrible. Like, I can't get the top strap to work right. It's either, like, way too loose or it starts sliding up my head. So getting it strapped to my face right, like, it's practically impossible, and I have to do that every time I want to take the headset on and off, and this is on PC, so, games are crashing, and there's error messages, and some of them decide it's a good idea to bring a window up on the desktop that you can't see because you have a VR headset on. Bravo, great game design there. So all sorts of things are, like, going awry and being weird in VR because I'm playing on PC. Some things are still in beta, namely everything. That's the other thing they don't mention to you. Pretty much all the VR games that aren't on PSVR yet, they're in beta. And pretty much all of the interfaces for interacting with VR and PC is in beta. I'd go so far as to say the headsets are in beta. So, I'm trying to get this HTC Vive strapped onto my head. I spent more time fiddling with those stupid Velcro straps than I did actually playing games. And no matter how hard I tried, it always put all the weight on my cheeks, forcing me into this, like, forced smile the entire time I'm playing anything on the Vive. Also, can I just say the Vive controllers are a dumpster fire? They're big and chunky, they don't fit their hands, and really, touchpads? Like, even navigating the Steam VR interface is a mess because scrolling with the touchpads doesn't work right. And there's a lot of games where the mere act of moving forward is difficult due to bad touchpad design. Just, the touchpad is terrible. Let's not even get into the people who just assume you're doing room-scale VR and force you to manually turn in real life. Yeah, it doesn't really work out all that well. So I'm trying to decide between these two, and someone's finally like, have you tried Windows Mixed Reality? I'm like, no, because Windows Mixed Reality isn't supposed to be very good. See, if you're unfamiliar with how Windows Mixed Reality works, which for the record is just VR, it's just called Windows Mixed Reality because Microsoft spent an excessive amount of time trying to sabotage virtual reality as a brand. Seriously, remember when that whole virtual reality versus augmented reality thing was going down? Yeah, I wonder who was behind that. Anyway, so they call it Windows Mixed Reality, and the way it works is there's no sensors around your room. They call it inside-out tracking. The cameras are actually on the headset, and the headset itself uses those cameras to see where it is in space and track its movement. And honestly, the tracking on the headset, utterly phenomenal. Works great. Works just as good as the HTC Vive Oculus Rift in that respect, but the controllers can only be tracked if you're looking at them. So I was like, I don't know if that's going to work, but I looked into it and I saw people being able to play some games that I wanted to play, and apparently the field of vision for that is actually larger than I expected. So I said, okay, and everyone says the best one to get's the Lenovo Explorer, especially because that one used to be on sale, but it's sold out at a lot of places because it is so infamous for being good. What's infamous for being bad is the Hewlett-Packard one. So I go on Amazon, and I try to buy a Lenovo Explorer, and they pull some sleight of hand and get me to accidentally buy the Hewlett-Packard one. And it is just as bad as they say it is. It has these rubber grips, and you vice it to your face, and it hurts to wear it, and it has this tiny little sweet spot for even viewing the blasted thing. And once again, my glasses barely fit in there, and only because the Windows Mixed Reality headsets have the one thing that I think every VR headset should have, and that's a flip-up, flip-down visor. That is a nice thing. And the only reason that my glasses are fitting in these things is because I flip the visor down over the glasses. But the HP one, it hurts to wear it, because if you have it tight enough that it sticks to your head, it feels like you have a freaking vice on your face. And even though it kind of fits with my glasses, I still gotta, like, wiggle it around and maneuver it to get it off. So I order the Lenovo Explorer. It comes in the mail. I put it on. And I flip the visor, and at first, you have to, feed some of the cord through it, because the visor won't flip up and down, so I feed some of the cord through it, and I'm like, oh, this is going to be a mess. Flip the visor down, and I gasped. Because it worked. It was comfortable. It fit on my head. It didn't cause problems with my glasses, and it's not because the face hole is large enough, it's because the foam is thin and weak enough that my glasses just push it out of the way. But heck with it, I'll take what I can get. Unfortunately, I think it has a smaller viewing radius than the HP one, so I often see my controllers kind of freaking out when I'm resting them just outside of my view. But you know what? Good enough. I tried a bunch of games on it. I can play Carnage Chronicles. I can play VR Dungeon Knight. I can play Sirento. I can play Galgun VR. The only one I was having problems with was Basketball Babe. Because, yes, I am pathetic enough to buy that game. And, yeah, no, because you're trying to throw basketballs with both hands, and the one that you're not looking at, it's losing most of your arc, so you're not getting very good throws with it. But everything else worked good enough. So that one wins. Because every other VR headset on PC is not worth owning. They are not finished products. Everyone needs to redesign their headsets. And here's the most amazing thing. You're probably hearing all this and going, oh, wow, so VR headsets just don't work with glasses? No, poorly designed VR headsets don't work with glasses, which is apparently 99% of them. See, here's the thing. The PlayStation VR, no issues with glasses whatsoever. Doesn't even touch the friggin' things, which was why this whole thing surprised me so much. You know what else worked with glasses? The Virtual Boy. Not a real VR headset, but regardless, I had no glasses issues. Pulled out my Virtual Boy, put it on. Stuck it up to my face, no issues. Know what else works with glasses? The goggles I bought for biology lab down at the Student Center here at Florissant Valley Community College. So, what's going on? Well, apparently Oculus and HTC worked together on the early VR headsets. Oculus made their face hole too small for glasses. HTC copied this. And then everyone else copied them. This is literally a bad design epidemic. The only ones not to copy these idiots at Oculus was Sony. For once, Sony did something right. They designed a headset on their own without looking at the HTC Vive and Oculus Rift and trying to make all these things compatible with that and copying their design, and because of that, they made the better headset design. Though the Lenovo Explorer is relatively comfortable, PlayStation VR is more comfortable despite being a heavier headset. Has better tracking than the Lenovo Explorer 2, but it is what it is. The ones with the good tracking are crap headsets that need to be redesigned. They need to accommodate glasses. They need to have a flip-down visor, which is something the PlayStation VR could really use, because so many people try to flip up the visor on my PlayStation VR when I let them use it, and they nearly break the thing. Literally every single person I've ever handed it to tries to do this. So that's a feature that should just be standard on VR headsets, because when you're in VR, you can't see. So, you might hit something. Or you might drop your controller and not know where you put it. Or, especially on PC, there might be error messages and pop-up windows that you have to click away. You can't do that when your headset is on. And you extra can't do that when you're wearing a Vive and you have glasses and you have to restrap and unstrap the entire contraption every time you want to wear the thing. So it's been an adventure. If you don't wear glasses, I guess the Oculus Rift's probably your best bet. Seemed really comfortable without glasses, but, yeah, no. Lenovo Explorer for me, nothing else on PC is worth it. Everything's in beta. Everything is a test. And there's a bunch of cool things you can do on VR, on PC, that you won't be able to do on PS4, just period. But, yeah, everything's in beta. That's the only way to put it. Everything's in beta. So, while Sony did good on VR headset design, they are doing bad on censorship. Let's get on with some actual news that doesn't relate to my adventures in VR headsets. Senran Kagura renewal is being delayed to remove the touching mode from the US PlayStation 4 version. This mode has been in every other PlayStation 4 Senran Kagura, and DS Senran Kagura, and Vita Senran Kagura. All the Senran Kaguras have had this feature, but there are new rules that Sony is putting in place that is forcing this new rule to be, forcing this mode to be removed from the US release. This mode will be in the PC version. The PC version will be uncensored. So, time to cancel your PS4 pre-orders. Senran Kagura Renewal, by the way, is a remake of the first Senran Kagura, but done with the Estival versus gameplay, for better or for worse. I'm kind of interested in it because I like Senran Kagura, and I want to know if they nailed the writing or not, because the first game's the one that has the actually good writing, and ever since then, all the characters kind of got flanderized and started acting goofier with each game. But the first game, and that one actually made me cry. Senran Kagura's, that is getting censored, and the question I have to ask is that a Sony of America censoring, or is that a Sony censoring? Because Sony of Japan won't allow content like this in VR. Period. I did a video on that. You can find it on the GameBabble YouTube channel about is Sony censoring VR, to which the answer appears to be yes, and now we have confirmation that they are starting to censor non-VR. Don't know if this is just America or in general. Now, having said that, I remember another company that started forcing censorship on their lewd games. Their name was Microsoft, and they lost their entire paltry Japanese player base due to this, and Sony had a huge boost due to them relaxing their policies. I would also like to point out that last week, Nintendo allowed Hot Gimmick Cosplay Jong to be released on the Nintendo Switch, and that the next entry in the Omega Labyrinth series, that game that was completely translated, ready to go, and then Sony would not allow a US release of it, period, or would not allow a release of it outside of Japan, period. That game, newest entry is on Nintendo Switch. There's some interesting games coming to Nintendo Switch. In fact, there is a Senran Kagura game on Nintendo Switch that is like an expanded version of this censored-out mode. Shinobi Reflections, I believe it's called. It's kind of stupid, but whatever. Not to mention, there's the Senran Kagura pinball game coming to Switch, which looks very exciting. So, in perhaps the most bizarre twist in the universe, could Nintendo and the Switch be the new safe haven for uncensored gaming? That would be interesting. The console one, anyway. Meanwhile, Steam has done a full reversal on their censorship antics. For those of you unfamiliar, a couple months back, a bunch of slightly risque games got letters from... They got some emails from Steam saying that they would have to pull their content, saying that they would have to either censor their content or pull it. And they were like, what the heck? We already complied to your rules. And Steam said, oops, sorry, we were testing out some new ideas. That was a glitch. And it got people very, very worried. Well, Steam went in the complete opposite direction of that. And now they have an adult games filter. If you go to your options and say that you want to allow adult games, you can download adult games on Steam. They are now allowed, and I would like to applaud this personally. Because, as long as you make it so you have to, authorize your age and say, yes, I am old enough to play this game, then why not? The games are out there anyway. How about I don't have to download them from sketchy websites? So it's good. It is good that Steam is doing this. Because it's not just about, like, actually... It's not just about porn. It's about some of the, like, lewder or more controversial or more just unusual games. There are certain games that could really push the boundaries. They might have to be listed as adult. And, yeah. So, it's nice that Steam is now giving an outlet for these kinds of games, that they are allowing this. You just have to, verify your age and say that, yeah, you want to see adult games. Good on them. And while I don't expect adult games on Switch, it is nice to see that they are allowing Senran Kagura and Omega Labyrinth and Hot Gimmick Cosplay Zhong so far. By the way, the translation in that game is amazing. It is a gem. It is an absolute gem. Let's see. What can we cover? You know what? While we're on the subject of Nintendo Switch, Cyber Gadget is coming out with new Switch controller toppers, thank goodness. For those of you unfamiliar, I'm talking about those little plastic strappy things you put on the single Joy-Cons for your Nintendo Switch. You know, the ones that are garbage. Those have to be one of the worst designed things about the Nintendo Switch. I still can't believe Nintendo allowed them, because I literally do not know how to put those things on and off my controller without injuring myself. And most people are the same way. It's way too easy to put them on backwards, and even when you put them on the right way, it is insanely hard to get them off. And what's more, they have to be carried around separately, and you kind of need them because it makes the controllers way more comfortable and, makes the L and R buttons bigger. It makes it way easier to use your single Joy-Cons, but they're incredibly hard to put on and off, and you have to carry them around, and they're dumb. I really wish that they, just folded back on the controller. These new ones don't fold back on the controller, but I'm going to trust they're probably easier to put on and take off, because it would be kind of hard to be harder to put on and take off. The idea behind the new ones, though, is that it actually makes the single Joy-Cons bigger and gives them, a larger backing and stuff, so that way people with larger hands can more comfortably hold the single Joy-Con controllers for the Switch. That's a pretty good idea. I look forward to seeing how comfortable or uncomfortable they are. Fingers crossed on comfortable. And in other news, I think this deserves some mention, the AtGames fiasco. So AtGames makes a lot of crap emulator boxes. They generally make Sega Genesises. What is the plural of Genesis? Because you can't really have two Genesises. But in terms of what a Genesis actually is, a beginning. But Sega made a console named a Genesis. So what do you call two Sega Genesises? Either way, they make a lot of crappy Sega Genesises. And they have a new product out called the Bandai Namco Blast, and it's it's a Sega Genesis controller and a USB HDMI dongle thing you plug into your TV, and it lets you play old Namco games, yay, and they're saved on the dongle, and isn't that adorable? And there's a special Walmart edition that comes with Pac-Mania instead of Tower of Druaga, woohoo! But there's a problem. 2 different people reviewed this, and one of them got a copy not from Walmart, and it had the arcade ROMs on it, and it was, actually pretty cool. The other one bought the one from Walmart, and it was the crappy NES ROMs. It was less cool. They got wind of this. They both found out, and they contacted AtGames. And AtGames gave the worst answer possible. They said, oh yeah, no, the early units we produced used the NES ROMs, but the later ones used the arcade ROMs. Problem, the box shows the arcade ROMs regardless. And they have the exact same packaging. So it is a complete crapshoot if you get the good one or the bad one. And they've been pointing this out, that this is false advertising, that you're confusing people, that There's no way to tell if you're getting a good or a bad Bandai Namco blast. At Games is in full damage control mode and is blocking people on Twitter who are trying to discuss this and bring this up. And yeah, so that's a mess. Please don't buy At Games products. They generally tend to be crap. Anyway, that means it's time for a break. So here is Regret by Ian Fisher here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. And stay tuned for more GameBabble Live. We have so much more to talk about. Thank you so much for listening. Please. That was Wish I Never Met You by Loot here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell. Welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, before the break, we mentioned my adventures in virtual reality headsets for PC. That was an adventure indeed. We talked about the At Games Bandai Namco Blast and how some of them are good, some of them are bad. There's no way to tell, and At Games is sticking their head in the sand. And we talked about Sony's new censorious policies regarding Senran Kagura renewal and how Nintendo might wind up being the new bastion for more interesting games. And also that Steam is now allowing adult games on their store as long as you turn on the filter to see them. Moving on, though. Let's mention Starlink. It's out and baffling. For those of you unfamiliar, Ubisoft, they made a Toys to Life game. Yes, after the fad is already over, they've made a game where you buy plastic spaceships and little plastic action figures of pilots, and you plug them into your controller, and then you get to play them in the game, and you can swap weapons out on the fly, and it's adorable and great and whatever. Yeah, problem is, well, that fad came and went, and no one knows what to do with it. What's even more interesting, though, is the fact that the Nintendo Switch version comes with Fox McCloud and an R-Wing and has exclusive Star Fox content. Exclusive, surprisingly meaty Star Fox content. As Fox actually has his own story missions where he chases after Wolf O'Donnell on top of being playable in all the other Starlink missions. Like, if you play on other systems, you lose out on a hefty chunk of content by not having Fox McCloud in your game. And it's actually very interesting, because I think there's only like 10 pilots and 7 ships in the game. What? No, you're supposed to launch with 40 toys to buy. That's how much Skylanders always did. The game is a baffling mistake in that regard, because the characters, anyone who isn't Fox McCloud is really bland and uninteresting as a character. See, that was the thing with Skylanders. They're selling them based on the characters, so every single character had to be over the top and cartoony and really, really interesting and unique. Starlink, it's just a bunch of dudes. It's just these people. Not even particularly interesting looking people. They're just these people. They're there. And that's like a large part of the problem. Because, I don't want to buy any of these people. Like, I looked into Starlink, and I'm like, there's like one character I kind of sort of care about a little bit. The racing pilot, kind of, with the big, like, afro-looking thing. That one's kind of nice. Everyone else is boring. One of which is, like, actually really annoying. There's one terrible character. The kid character is awful in this game. And yeah, like, I don't want to buy it. I look at it and it's like, I'm kind of interested because Fox McCloud, but literally nothing else in here interests me. But this is where things get really interesting. They fully recognize that the Toys to Life fad is over, and so you can purchase the game digitally, and it gives you access to a bunch of stuff. And it is exponentially cheaper to just buy the digital release that comes with, like, all the content and completely ignore the toys. So you made a Toys to Life game where the best idea is not to buy the toys ever. And it's utterly baffling. Because people want to buy the toys. I want to have the Fox McCloud toy. I want the R-Wing, but I know that if I go ahead and buy that version, that I'm getting screwed out of a huge chunk of money. Like, the amount, just buying the regular digital version, which, like, costs the same as buying one that comes with, like, one toy and a pilot. Like, I think it's like, I don't know how many it comes with. But either way, it comes with way more if you just buy the regular digital version. And buying the deluxe version costs less than, like, buying one more pilot and ship, okay? It's ludicrous. And I'm just looking at it like, what are you even thinking? That said, though the game looks very polished and nice, it kind of looks a lot like a lot of people are describing it as a better No Man's Sky. Unfortunately, it still seems a lot like No Man's Sky in the worst way possible. I admit I haven't picked it up myself, but I tried to watch a video of someone else playing the game, and I'm like, where the heck is the action? Like, I'm skipping through it, trying to find any of the action to see what the combat is like. And it's just ships floating around in space. There seems like there's nothing there, and it's very much they missed the point here. Because what they don't realize that people don't care about vehicles. That was one of the things that sunk Skylanders, was Skylanders Superchargers. Second best game in the entire franchise, but the vehicles were stupid. Because they released... Skylanders normally did 40 characters, but for Superchargers, they did 20 characters and 20 vehicles, saying, oh, the vehicles are practically characters. Except, no, they're not. No one cares about the vehicles, and once you have one plane, one submarine, and one car, you don't care about getting anything else. The vehicles were just not interesting. And so you had this one Skylanders where they didn't release enough characters for it, and it was really bland. That's kind of the problem with Starlink. It's all about the vehicles. You barely even see the pilots. Like, and they should have focused more on the pilots. They should have been like, and they should have focused more on being able to customize the vehicles. Okay, fine, you can swap out the weapons, but you should be able to, like, swap out the wings and the cockpit and other bits, too, in order to better customize your vehicle. And they should have had it where the characters could get out of the cockpit and run around and made a bunch of different characters. They should have focused on having better characters, but basically, Starlink, I don't know if it's a good game or not, but it looks like someone utterly missing the point of the entire Toys to Life genre. And then it's best just to not buy it with the toys anyway. Why does it even exist? I think you know the answer to that. Like, I have literally no confirmation of this, but I would bet money that Ubisoft started work on this sometime after they saw, Disney Infinity 2.0 and Skylanders. They were like, oh, let's jump on board that bandwagon. And then they spent probably 4 years developing it, and by the time they finally get it out, the fad is over. In fact, I remember them showing Starlink before the fad was over. I remember, the first reveal, I think? Regardless. That was a thing that happened. Moving on. Let's talk Dynasty Warriors. So, first of all, Dynasty Warriors 8 Extreme Legends, final definitive edition is going to be downloadable only for the Nintendo Switch. Dynasty Warriors 9 is getting online and local split-screen co-op today, and a free-to-play version is coming out in November to allow you to join up with people. The co-op play in Dynasty Warriors 9 is drop-in, drop-out, and supposedly you can go to completely opposite ends of China and still play the game. They say the game runs at 60 FPS on a PlayStation 4 Pro, which I don't believe, but that split-screen mode will run at 30 FPS on a PS4 Pro. Considering how badly it runs on a non-Pro, I am afraid to know what split-screen is like, but it is very interesting that they added in split-screen, and that they're going to be releasing more DLC to try to add in fan-requested features and characters for Dynasty Warriors 9. This is all very interesting to me, because we've been in a co-op dark age for Dynasty Warriors. Starting with Dragon Quest Heroes, that game had no co-op. Then Berserk Band of the Hawk had no co-op. Dragon Quest Heroes had online co-op only. And then Warriors All-Stars had no co-op. pretty much everything except Fire Emblem Warriors had no split-screen co-op. And I'd been complaining about this for a while, because it's like, the co-op is one of the best parts of Dynasty Warriors, especially to the Western fan base. Split-screen co-op, online co-op, that's really important, and the last couple Dynasty Warriors haven't had it. And then after Dynasty Warriors 9 came out, all of a sudden, they are in full backpedal mode. They've patched it into Dynasty Warriors 9, but that's not the only thing. Warriors Orochi 4 did come out. I did pick it up. May as well call it Apology Warriors, because shortly after Dynasty Warriors 9 got utterly slammed for being terrible, they announced Warriors Orochi 4, and one of the first things they announced for it was co-op. And sure enough, game comes out. First thing listed on the back of the box, co-op action. And yes, as split-screen co-op, as online co-op. I picked up Warriors Orochi 4 on PlayStation 4, headed over to a friend's house. We tried out the split-screen, performed admirably. Not a lot of enemy pop-in, didn't even really see a frame rate drop. It ran nice in split-screen. And then we played online. We decided to make it a LAN party. And that ran a little bit funkier. Dynasty Warriors usually has wonky but functional netcode, and in this case, it's the same thing. Basically, your movement and attacks will never be affected by, lag in terms of your inputs, but sometimes enemies will behave strangely, and oftentimes you will see officers sort of skipping around the map. And that is exactly what we saw with this. Worst bug is that sometimes when you're playing the two-player co-op, the online, sometimes when you're doing the online co-op, an enemy will just decide not to take damage. And it seems the way to resolve this is for the other player to get closer to you. But yeah, there have been times where enemy officers just don't feel like taking damage. It's funny, because we were doing the LAN party, we had the two screens side by side, and as long as me and my friend were next to one another, the similarities between our screens were shocking. I was amazed at how good the netcode was, as long as we were close together, because I could practically play the game off of his screen. The similarities were so close. And these similarities are surprising because, of course, it's Dynasty Warriors, right? Dynasty Warriors has thousands of enemy troops. You can't send all that position data and life bar data and the data on the status of all those thousands of troops over the internet that smoothly. That's a lot of data to deal with. So the fact that they synced up so well utterly shocked me. So that was nice. The biggest problem, though, is that when you're doing the online co-op, there is no way for both players to make progress. Only the host makes progress. We tried every single way to join a room to try to be synced up and both be on the exact same mission and move forward, and no dice, which does kind of suck. So we came up with a sort of staggered thing where one person would host, do two missions, and the other person would host, do two missions, back and forth, back and forth. It was kind of dumb. But, yeah. That said, Warriors Orochi 4, if you want classic Dynasty Warriors, it delivers. It's got the 3-player tag team thing, it has the class system, it has 170 characters. The crossover characters are out, but they did add in some various deities because the plot is that after the events of Warriors Orochi 3, everyone went back to their own time periods and had their memories erased. But then Zeus saw it all and said, that looks like fun, and just decides to do it again. Whatever. It's just an excuse plot. Either way, it's very interesting to see Koei Tecmo actually learn this lesson, to see them go, oh wow, split screen and online co-op are really, really important to people. We should fix that. Shoot, I still haven't even tried this, but Warriors Orochi 4 has some kind of 3-on-3 versus mode over the internet. Need to try that out. So, that's a thing. Let's see, where do we go from here? Devil May Cry 5 in Japan is getting an ultra limited edition that comes with replica Dante, Nero, and V jackets. It costs thousands of dollars. Literal thousands. And a lot of people are looking at this and going, what the crap? But I understand. See, I was actually watching, I talk a lot about how I watch Maximilian, dude, fantastic streamer, does a good time, very, very, very fun to watch him. And he was doing a stream, and they mentioned that they had a replica of Nero's jacket that one of the guys wore in a presentation on stage, and people were like, man, I wish I could buy that jacket. So all these people in the chat were like, I wish I could buy that jacket. And Maximilian actually said, I actually saw that jacket in person because he was at the conference, and he was like, yeah, if they sold that, it would be thousands of dollars. That is a costume quality jacket. What's more, it's made very specifically for that one size. It's very specifically fitted. So chances are it wouldn't fit you, and it's very specially tailored. And yeah, if they sold it, it would be thousands of dollars. Well, that's confirmed, because they're selling it now for thousands of dollars. Nail on the head there. Moving on. SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy is getting another new character. We have no clue who it is. Early guesstimates were saying that it would be Jean from World Heroes, but this does not look like Jean. In fact, I would actually guess it's female Geese. It looks a lot like it. The head, once again, looks very bald. I'm having a hard time figuring it out. Very, very interesting. I'm curious to see what it is. Moving on. Puyo Puyo Esports is out in Japan. Don't know if there's going to be a U.S. release. Don't know when that would be, but goodness knows it's cheap enough that I'm kind of tempted to get it. Next up, there is a crossover RPG in development called Fantasia Rebuild, which will feature characters from Slayers, and also Data Life, and a bunch of other shows I haven't heard of. But Slayers! Yes! Okay. Moving on, Spider-Man has gotten its New Game Plus update. And this has me excited. The Virtual On 3-pack is coming to PlayStation 4. That is a pack of Virtual On Cyber Troopers, Oratorio Tangram, and Force. All three of them come to PS4, and it will be compatible with a twin stick that is currently being crowdfunded for use with a certain magical Virtual On. This surprises me because I own a certain magical Virtual On that doesn't have twin stick control, so I don't know how they're kickstarting this twin stick, but they have successfully kickstarted a twin stick controller for it. Thank goodness. Wish I could have gotten that. And yeah, it'll work with Sega's official Virtual On 3-pack that they are producing. I am very excited for this because Virtual On's a good game. I would love to try playing Cyber Troopers again. And of course, Oratorio Tangram is the best entry in the series. Force. Mars is really bad, but Force is not that good. Now the question is, will it have the old Force, the infamous Force pre-order DLC or not? We will have to find out. Moving on. Everybody's Golf VR is set for spring. That would be a new Hot Shots golf game, but in VR. Also, Dissidia NT has Camlanaut is out now as DLC. I guess he's from Final Fantasy 11. I didn't play a lot of 11, so I wouldn't know. And yeah, Dissidia NT, you're probably going, why are they still making stuff for that? Well, because they made a season pass. Yeah, that's sort of the problem with when you do a season pass, you're kind of promising people on some content. And that content, yeah, you gotta deliver on it. If you're unfamiliar, Final Fantasy Dissidia is a Final Fantasy fighting game. It started on PSP, and it was really good. They did an arcade version that was a weird 3-on-3 thing, and it existed for a while. They ported that to PS4, and everyone's disappointed because it has no local versus. It focuses entirely on 3-on-3, and since it's entirely online, that means that you are requiring 6 people to have a good internet connection, so good luck with that. And they dumbed down the combat, which was already rather simplistic, resulting in a game that disappointed pretty much everyone. But they thought it would be the next big esports hit, so Square Enix was like, hey, here's a season pass, it's going to get you 6 different new DLC characters. And some people bought it, and that means you got to deliver on your promise. So, Camlin is out now for your Dissidia NT. Yeah. Moving on. Resonance of Fate HD 4K is out and affordably priced. I don't know if it has a physical release. I think it might be digital only. But at the price, I'm actually kind of tempted. I played some Resonance of Fate. I liked it. Only got a little ways in. And would not mind playing it again. But I was like, I don't know if I want to pay that much money for it. But now that I see the price tag they're actually giving it, which I can't say on the air, but that's a nice price tag, it's got me going, maybe. Cripes. Although still, this is does mean it's still the rerun generation. That's what I'm calling it. It's the rerun generation. See, Resonance of Fate. Do I see a physical release? No physical release for Resonance of Fate. At least not at GameStop. But yeah, no. I'm kind of tempted to pick that up. Also, BlazBlue Central Fiction is getting a Switch release on February 7th. And House of the Dead Scarlet Dawn is out now in arcades. Apparently Dave & Buster's is stocking up on those things. I'm hearing very good things about it. It looks very promising. So, good times all around there. So, I do believe it's time for us to take a quick break, so we will take that break. And when we get back, we will talk about Soul Calibur VI and the complete, enjoyable yet simultaneously terrible dumpster fire that it is. Oh yeah, it's worse than I expected. And the thing that makes it so annoying, so terrible, so frustrating, is the fact that it's a really fun game. Because it's still Soul Calibur. I'm still having a blast with it. I just know that I'm being swindled. Kind of an awkward situation. Anyway, here's Lucid Dreams by Juice WRLD here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for That was Run the Road by Santa Gold here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. So, before the break, we talked about a bunch of different random game releases. We talked about how the Dynasty Warriors series is recognizing that co-op is important and patched that into Dynasty Warriors 9, and Warriors Orochi 4 is very multiplayer-centric. That is wonderful, while also providing a good single-player experience. Talked about Devil May Cry 5's ludicrously overpriced special editions in Japan that come with the clothing of the main characters, and why that is apparently considered sensible. Resonance of Fate getting an HD release. SNK Heroines got another character on the horizon, which I'm excited about because SNK Heroines looks like a great game. And we were going to talk about Soul Calibur 6, but before we do, I do want to say, My Hero 1's Justice apparently is coming out this Friday. I think that actually looks promising. I've talked about this on previous episodes, but I want to say it again. See, when they announced that they were doing a My Hero Academia fighting game, which is, of course, a fantastic anime series, people were really excited because Dragon Ball FighterZ had just come out, and it is just one of the best Dragon Ball games ever made because it's a traditional, good 2D fighter. Even if you don't like Dragon Ball FighterZ is a fantastic freaking game. So everyone was really excited to hear, there's going to be a My Hero Academia fighter, and then they saw footage of it, and immediately their hopes and dreams were destroyed because they're like, it's going to be like Naruto Ninja Storm. Problem is, they missed the fine print. It's not being made by CyberConnect 2, the developers of the Naruto Ninja Storm games. It's being made by Baiking. Baiking are the developers of the Gundam Versus game, the GameCube cult classic Gotcha Force, Rise of Incarnates on PC, and indeed Gunslinger Stratos. In short, Viking is the company that started the arena fighter craze in Japan. They do good work. And I currently have footage of some versus matches of the game pulled up, and I'm like, yeah, this looks like a Viking game. This looks like a more melee-centric version of Gundam Versus. Now, that's the thing. All of those have been very projectile and range-centric. This one is going to be more melee-centric. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects the game. But this still shows a lot of promise. What doesn't show promise is that though it's getting a Switch release, I think the Switch version is going to run at 30 FPS. Let me double check that one. My Hero 1's Justice Switch FPS. Let's see. My Hero 1's Justice runs at 1080p 60 FPS on PS4. Let me see this. Dynamic 720p 30 FPS on Switch. Ouch. Ooh, that's bad. No. Like, if it was 720p 60 FPS, I'd buy it on Switch. But dynamic 720p 30 FPS on Switch, put that in a dumpster. No, PS4 version. Okay, so that's settled. You don't want to play a fighting game at lower than 60 FPS. Even if you can't tell the frame rate, you can feel it. Because the more frames per second you have, the sooner your inputs can register. And you can feel it. You can feel the controls are more responsive at 60 FPS than they are at 30 FPS. And games may play fine at 30, but they play better at 60. And pretty much the entire fighting game genre runs at 60 FPS standard. And Christ, did I have a run-in with that, because the Switch version of SNK Heroine's Tag Team Frenzy runs at 30 FPS, and it feels awful. Like, it's playable, but it is not the best. I went to bought the game a second time on PS4 because of that, where it runs at 60 FPS. It's much nicer. So, speaking of fighting games, it's time to talk about Soul Calibur VI. That came out. If you've been following me, on nearly every episode, I've talked about how I expected Soul Calibur VI to be pretty terrible, how it looked like they were recycling a lot of content. Now that the game is here, I can safely confirm, no. So, the game is still fun to play. But for starters, almost all of the character models are recycled from Soul Calibur 4. That is an 11-year-old game. Now, those character models still look phenomenal. I actually have no problem with them recycling those character models. What I have a problem with is they're recycling all these Soul Calibur 4 character models, yet we don't have the full Soul Calibur 4 roster. We only have 20 characters, not counting Geralt from The Witcher. We only have 20 characters. Wasn't there like 25, 26, 27, something like that? We lost a chunk of characters. No Hilde, no Rock, no Amy, no bunch of characters. And then, to add insult to injury, Tira is DLC. And initially, we thought she was going to be pre-order DLC. No, you have to buy the season pass to get Tira. And we're like, what the heck? Tira has been in this series since Soul Calibur 3. She was in Soul Calibur 4. She was in Soul Calibur 5. Soul Calibur 6 is the first game since her introduction in Soul Calibur 3 not to feature her. And the developer said, oh, well, she originally wasn't going to be in the game, because since this is a retelling of Soul Calibur 1, she doesn't really fit in with the timeline, so we weren't going to put her in the game, but she's a popular character, so we're releasing her as DLC, but she was a last-minute addition, and then the beta comes out, and Tira's right there. No sign of Astaroth, no sign of Cervantes, but Tira is in the beta for free, meaning Tira was implemented before Astaroth and Cervantes. What's more, Tira shows up in the story mode, meaning that the entire "oh, she doesn't fit the timeline" thing was BS, meaning we were being lied to, and yes! Tira is using her Soul Calibur 4 character model. Now, yes, the clothing is different. Guess what? You can change the clothing in customization. the base model is the same. And that means we getting ripped off. So, for starters, they have taken an 11-year-old game, copy-pasted the content, and then cut out a chunk of it to sell us later. Then you get to the stages. There are only 11 stages, which is like the lowest number of stages any Soul Calibur game has ever had. 2 of which are recycled from Soul Calibur V. And the rest of which are a blurry smudge because of the horrible depth of field. On top of all this, I am a Lizard Man main. I love me some Lizard Man. And you can make your own custom Lizard Man in the character creator. But leading up to launch, a lot of us were really paying attention because some people ran into some Lizard Men in story mode. And one of them was using Lizard Man's moveset. Guess what? Lizard Man's moveset is in the game, but you can't play him. You cannot use it. You can't even put it on a custom character. So, even though I have spent the past entire Soul Calibur series playing Lizard Man and getting good with Lizard Man, and he's my main, guess what? He's not in the game. You can make a Lizard Man, but you can't play as Lizard Man. You can't play as Aeon Calcos, the Lizard Man. His moveset's there, just, nope, don't get to use it. Okay, that's wonderful. They'll probably sell him as DLC. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah, his moveset's already in the game. He's practically already a character. You just have to give us money in order to play as him. This character that has been in the game since Soul Calibur 1. Whoo, buddy. But then we get to character creation, which is literally just copy-pasted from Soul Calibur 5. Like, they fixed some bugs and some sorting issues. Like, Soul Calibur 5 had this weird issue where way too many pieces of clothing were counted as underwear. Now, not all of them are counted as underwear. But, believe it or not, we do not have all the parts from Soul Calibur 5. You have significantly less customization parts than you did in Soul Calibur 5. Like, the ring pants are just gone. And I remember those because they're like the most stylish pants ever. They're these, purple bell bottoms with slits along the side that are held together with giant gold rings. They look awesome as all heck. They were part of the witch costume from Soul Calibur 3. They were in Soul Calibur 3, 4, and 5. And I'm pretty sure they were in the PSP port of 4 as well. But Soul Calibur 6, nowhere to be found. At least not in the normal edition. Now, if you bought the special edition, there was a special limited edition that apparently came with some more DLC outfits. But only if you bought it physically, and they did not produce very many copies of it, so, okay, that's wonderful, thank you. So, we are already just going insane. Yeah, it's just, and the only new parts they've added to the character creation is actually the costumes of the existing characters. All their Player 1 costumes are available, which, by the way, Soul Calibur 6, also the only Soul Calibur with no second player costumes. It's just an alt color. Also, Soul Calibur 6, only Soul Calibur game not to have an intro sequence. Minor thing, but it sticks out when your game is just this lacking. So, okay. We have less characters, less stages, less customization options than we did in previous games, and very little new has been added. There are only, not counting Geralt, 2 new characters. As well, who there is no chance of him returning. That moveset is completely broke. And Grow. Okay. So, Soul Calibur 6 is basically a stripped-down version of an 11-year-old game being ported over. Now, this is where someone is going to object and point out the one difference. The gameplay. The gameplay is improved over Soul Calibur 4. This is the biggest problem, because otherwise you could just go back to Soul Calibur 4. It's a better-looking game with more content, but the netcode was garbage, and the gameplay was slow and sluggish, and no one liked it. It is considered one of the worst entries in the series. And that's a little bit of a problem. This is the problem with Soul Calibur. See, Dead or Alive 6 is going to be the same way, where it's just, we're copy-pasting content from DOA 5, but there's going to be less of it and you have to pay more for it. You know what? Doesn't matter. DOA 6, we can just ignore it, go back to DOA 5. Pretty much same game, except better with more content, right? Soul Calibur 6, we can't go back because Soul Calibur 5 sucked and Soul Calibur 4 sucked and arguably Soul Calibur 3 sucked. It was certainly buggy enough, so we have to go all the way back to Soul Calibur 2 for a good Soul Calibur game. And that can't be played online, at least not legally in a good way. I mean, there's that HD re-release, but it has terrible netcode. There are means to play it online, though. But, yeah, so if you want to play Soul Calibur online, Soul Calibur 6 is your best bet. The netcode is pretty darn good. The game is actually pretty fun. But you're still sitting there going, this is 11-year-old content. These are 11-year-old character models and customization parts and things. And they're being resold to us at full price, at a premium price. We are paying more money for less work, and that's because Namco won't give Soul Calibur the time and budget it needs to be a completed game, nearly driving the leader of the Soul Calibur team to suicide with whatever BS backroom business garbage is going on at Namco. On the plus side, we have a story mode that has lots of talking in it, and lots of nice, well-drawn still images. And then we have kind of an Edge-Master mode with custom characters. That's pretty nice. So it at least has some single-player content. It is fun to play online. It's just, you feel like you're getting screwed. That, and can we just... Reversal Edge is the worst mechanic. The big new mechanic is Reversal Edge, which is this move that can kind of be used as a counter, and if you hit with it, you have to play rock, paper, scissors. And it's dumb, because the entire match stops in order to do this big, flashy rock, paper, scissors thing. That, if you win, it does some big damage and sets up for some stupid things. But the dumbest thing is that some characters have their Reversal Edge in the middle of their combos. So what this means is that you have situations where you are in the middle of comboing your opponent. You have them on the ropes. You're doing damage, and then one wrong button press and stop everything. We gotta play rock, paper, scissors. So that way your own combo can damage you. And I know the answer to this is stop mashing buttons, pay attention to what you're doing, but some characters have multiple routes that can lead to their Reversal Edge. So sometimes you're just, you're trying to do a combo, and you screw up, or you go in a direction you don't expect, and all of a sudden, stop everything! I want everyone to hit me! The worst part is, the Reversal Edges you get from doing these strings seem to be worse, and basically your combo just stops and you ask yourself to be hit. And even if you connect, it's a game of rock, paper, scissors. It's like they have poisoned combos in the game. It's stupid. It's beyond stupid. I don't know what to make of this. And yeah, a lot of characters have been dumbed down. They've lost more moves, which is the worst part. Soul Calibur has been losing moves since 2. Soul Calibur 2 has the biggest moveset. Soul Calibur 3 has less. Soul Calibur 4 has less. Soul Calibur 5 has less. Apparently 6 has more moves than 5. It's looking like, maybe. But maybe about the same, maybe less than 4? Which is less than 3, which is less than 2? On top of all of this, the one upside to the character creation is, now you can choose from a bunch of different races. That actually winds up being a detriment. Most of those races are just humans with different parts and restrictions put on them, and it actually took away character creation parts. Like, I was super excited because they added in, this crazy bunny girl race, right? Except, get this, they don't have bunny tails. Because that would require them to, make a new piece. You choose. They always have bunny ears, which look terrible, and it's cat tail or raccoon tail because those are the parts from Soul Calibur 5. And because the bunny ears go with the bunny people race, that means you can't use them normally, because they used to just be an accessory item that you could resize and rearrange. So I can't make the ears, like, longer and bigger and stuff. I can't, like, do a lot with them. So and the races have no effect on story mode. I'm playing through as a lizard man, and no one seems to friggin' notice. So the whole adding races thing adds literally nothing to the game. Except, like, maybe a few, I don't know. So yes, basically, Soul Calibur VI is a downgrade in most ways, an upgrade in a couple ways. It's still fun to play and has good netcode, and it has some single-player content. But for the most part, yeah, no, we're being sold 11-year-old content and being asked to pay full price for it. And it's not even all of it. We are very much getting screwed by this game. Anyway, time for a break. Here is Miss You by Cashmere Cat featuring Major Lazer and Tory Lanez. Here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. That was Jumpsuit by 21 Pilots here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Jell, and welcome back to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. Whew! So, after discussing how Soul Calibur VI is a enjoyable disappointment, it's the most awkward thing. I know I'm getting screwed over, but the heck if I'm not having fun with the game. But that does bring up an interesting new topic, though, which is the changing nature of how fighting games are released. See, in the past, fighting games tended to get a lot of different versions. You know, you'd have your championship editions and your hyper fightings and your EX, your EX Plus, and your EX Plus Alphas, and your Alpha 3 and your Alpha 3 uppers. You get the idea. Your Super Turbos. These things tended to happen. And there was a reason behind that. Fighting games are very, very focused on balance, on trying to get all these characters who all play completely differently to be about the same in terms of strength, where one doesn't have too much of a big difference over the others. It's an impossible task, but one you can't ignore. You gotta at least put in the effort to try. And people did try. This is where things get really awkward, though, because, yeah, it means that you wind up re-releasing and buying the same game over and over again, and if you're going to play competitively, you gotta stay on that. I know I was friends with a hardcore Guilty Gear fan, and I was sort of an enabler, because most of the Guilty Gear XX releases didn't get US releases. I was the only one to import PS2, so I wound up importing every single new Guilty Gear. So you got Guilty Gear X, Guilty Gear XX, Guilty Gear XX Sharp Reload, Guilty Gear XX Sharp Reload / Isco was also in the middle of that, but that doesn't count. Then after that, you had Accent Core Plus, and Accent Core Plus R, I believe. So I had to buy all these, and these were all sold at full price, and most of the time they only added maybe 1 or 2 new characters, and you were really only buying them for the balance updates. When DLC first became a thing, a lot of people were very concerned about fighting games, because they were like, you can't release DLC characters, because if you're serious about fighting games, you need to own every single character. You need to play every single character in order to know what they do and develop strategies against them. And if you're going to release DLC characters, that means we have to keep buying these DLC characters. And initially, all the fighting game companies agreed. They all said that we would never sell the characters as DLC because they're so important. Every fighting game company backpedaled on this. And a lot of people got really, really angry, but in retrospect, it wound up being a good thing overall. How so? Well, because I would much rather buy a DLC character for a couple bucks every now and then, rather than having to purchase a whole new version of the game. See, Street Fighter V, if you bought that launch edition, it's kept being updated. They've kept adding new seasons of characters, along with new stages and new costumes, new balance tweaks and changes. Yes, they released the Street Fighter V Arcade Edition. It's hitting arcades soon, but that's just a free update to your existing Street Fighter V. All the balance patches you already have. And the only thing you have to pay for is the additional characters. And honestly, paying for a season pass every year for a guaranteed pile of characters actually ain't so bad. In the grand scheme of things, the digital landscape has actually benefited fighters, allowing bugs to be patched out sooner, allowing one central purchase to last you a while as you get more DLC characters, and those DLC characters generate more interest and hype for the game. Because otherwise, like, if you're waiting for a whole new release, then the game gets old, the game gets stale, people lose interest and they play other games. And then when the new release comes out, everyone sort of feels like they're buying the same game over again. By doing DLC characters, you get this steady drip feed of new content for that game to keep you reinvigorated and re-excited for the game. Oh wow, Cooler and Android 17 are here for Dragon Ball FighterZ. Suddenly I care again. And I think Namco has strongly hinted that they might do a Season 2 of characters. Instead of doing another, like, Dragon Ball FighterZ, just do another season. I'm completely on board with that. That's the way to do things now. So basically, the way that fighting games are being released now is they release one central version per generation, and then they just expand upon it. We got Tekken 7. Tekken 7 got a big update. It's getting new characters. We don't need Tekken 8 this generation. It'd be kind of stupid to release Tekken 8. What would Tekken 8 add that couldn't be added in a patch or an expansion? And this gets really interesting when you look at Soul Calibur VI. Because I do question the big new gameplay mechanic, Reversal Edge. It is lacking in characters and creation parts. And we already know characters and creation parts are being sold as DLC. But we have had a history of Soul Calibur games that have been really wonky and people have complained about. Will they patch it? At the same time, we have a weird history of Soul Calibur patches being bad, as apparently the final patch for Soul Calibur V ruined that game. I was hearing about this from some people. Apparently, like, one of the big advantages of Soul Calibur V, the whole reason why people would play Soul Calibur V over Soul Calibur 4, was because the game was faster and you could move better. But the last patch for Soul Calibur V nerfed the movement, making the game bad. So there is a chance that Soul Calibur 6 could become worse with patches. It could get abandoned, or it could improve. But at the same time, can they really fix it? I'm sure they can give me a patch to turn off the depth of field. I would like that, actually. But it's very awkward, because one of the biggest problem with Soul Calibur 6 is that it didn't come with enough content. The biggest problem to me is the fact that they are taking the content that I should have gotten with my full price purchase, and they're expecting me to pay essentially the cost of another full game to get the rest of an 11-year-old game, which is how I'm going to refer to Soul Calibur 6, because you are recycling models and character creation bits and the character creation system and stages from older games rather than making new content. So I already feel like they can't fix it because you're expecting me to pay twice the price for an old game. But that also means that if I'm willing to pay twice the price, it does, like, theoretically become a good game, but then we have to wonder about the gameplay. Will they fix the gameplay? And what happens with Reversal Edge? Like, I think Reversal Edge is a really flawed system. A lot of people do. It's a bad idea. It messes up the game flow. It's not good. Would they consider removing Reversal Edge? Similarly, a lot of people don't like the visual effect of Armor Break. Because, of course, you put all this time and effort and work into customizing your character, and then all those character creation parts that make that character what they are just gets blown off in the middle of combat. That's kind of BS. So we kind of want armor break removed. We kind of want reversal edge removed, and supers are kind of questionable too. Those are like all the new features for Soul Calibur VI. Would they consider adding in a classic mode that turns off the meter, removes reversal edge, removes armor break? Would they consider it? I mean, to a lot of people, probably not. Because that's admitting, hey, our whole new cool gameplay systems are actually terrible ideas that don't work right. Would they have the guts to do that? Would they have the guts to admit to that? Would they have the guts to try that? I want to see where Soul Calibur 6 goes from here. Does Namco Bandai just abandon the game? Or will they allow it to grow? Can they fix it? Can it become something better? That is a very good question. And I look forward to seeing what the answer is. Woo! So that's where we are with that one. Moving right along, though. Apparently, No Man's Sky is releasing a Halloween update called The Abyss. Good to see the Stranger Things font being put to good use again. But The Abyss is apparently going to be an expansion that focuses on the creepier elements of No Man's Sky. Okay, that's neat. Also, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee have revealed Master Trainers. Basically, after you beat the Pokemon League and beat the game, Master Trainers for each and every Pokemon in the game, so like 152 Master Trainers, will show up. And they specialize in that one Pokemon. And you can only fight them with that one Pokemon. You don't get to switch out. You don't get to use items. It is the ultimate challenge. But if you beat them, you earn their title, which can be displayed in online matches. And all of a sudden, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee is sounding a lot more interesting. Because when this thing was first revealed, people were like super excited, and then they found out about how there are no wild Pokemon battles, and it plays like Pokemon Go for wild Pokemon, and they immediately got disappointed. It was a simplified, casualized Pokemon, which is the last thing you need because Pokemon is already a kid's game. So you don't need to simplify and casualize it. But that was what they were going with, and people were looking at it, they were like, wow, that looks really dumb. But it's a console Pokemon, but I don't know. People were still really iffy, and it looked like it was dumbed down, but they still kind of wanted it, but they weren't sure. It looks like they're trying to strike that balance. Okay, fine. No wild Pokemon battles, but you do still have trainer battles, and it is traditional Pokemon trainer battles, which can now be played in two-player simultaneous drop-in, drop-out co-op. Okay. It apparently has online matches. Okay. And now it has post-game challenges. Okay. So basically, it seems like they are trying to give us a nice smooth curve where it is, a casualized beginners, I've never played a Pokemon game before, but Pokemon Go is this thing my friends play kind of game that's supposed to ease you into proper Pokemon, but at the same time, it continues to ramp up, eventually becoming a legitimate Pokemon challenge. Sounds promising. Sounds very exciting. I look forward to playing that. Moving on. I should mention the Kunio-kun The World Collection has recently been announced to contain Double Dragon 1, 2, and 3, the NES version, along with all of the US and Japanese Kunio games. For those unfamiliar, the Kunio series is River City Ransom and Super Dodgeball, Crash in the Boys Street Challenge. Those games. In Japan, they're all part of a long-running series of beat-em-ups and sports games that are really, really great, but very few of them actually made it to America. And they have decided that they are going to release this as a collection. That it's all going to be packaged together, and you're going to be able to get it all in this one awesome pack. And it's like, cool. Because these are awesome games. Now, I need to double check something because I do not know the full extent of this release. I think right now it might be Japanese only. I don't know if there's any plans for a US release. And I need to double check what system it's on. So let me just... There you go. Kunio-kun the World Collection comes out December 20th in Japan. No sign of a U.S. release. Even if there is one, I don't think it's actually going to be translated. But it's going to be on Steam. Jeez, I don't know what's going on with this. But okay, Kunio-kun the World Classics Collection, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on December 20th in Japan. A PC version will be released via Steam at a later date. Xbox One version will be digital only. Cost of a new game, but that is, let's see, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 games. One of which is pre-order DLC, which is some alternate version of Super Dodgeball. But yeah, 11 Japanese games, 4 American games, and 3 Double Dragons. Because Double Dragon is, like, loosely related to the Kunio series. It's made by, the same team. It was sort of a spin-off of Kunio meant to appeal more to Western audiences. And yeah. So it's interesting. And they're doing the NES ones because those are the ones that were really, really developed by the Kunio team. Like, they had some relation to the arcade releases, but the NES ones was actually the main Kunio-kun team working on these games. And they're generally considered better, except for, like, Double Dragon 1, kind of, but still. That's a nice collection. I hope it gets a U.S. release, but at the same time, if it did get a U.S. release, chances are they wouldn't translate any of the games. I think that's the big problem, because there are 11 games that have no English translation, and they don't know what to do with them. And I want them, because oh egad, Kunio Dodgeball, or Kunio Basketball is amazing. I've played it, it's phenomenal. I might be picking up that collection on Switch. That would be a good game to have on Switch, especially because a lot of those sports games were 4-player simultaneous. Oh, good pick for a Switch game. And I'm pretty sure that those will run at a proper frame rate, too. Whew, anyway. I do believe it's time for us to take a little bit of a break. So here is Girl Like You by Maroon 5 featuring Cardi B here on 89.5 FM KCFV, the Wave Diverse Music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for more. That was Nearer My God by Foxing here on 89.5 FM KCFV The Wave, diverse music for your diverse mind. I'm your host, Del, and welcome to GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m., meaning we are coming up on the last segment of the show, but don't worry, because if you're tuning in late, you missed the show, you want to hear the rest of it, just head on over to YouTube and search up GameBabble Live Archive for a full archive of over 60 different episodes of GameBabble Live. However, I've discovered something. You need to type that in GameBabble all one word. Because apparently, at some random point in time, 2 random guys also made a show called GameBabble. But with a space. And I am going to blame YouTube's garbage search system for this. Because I've been doing GameBabble as a brand, quote-unquote, for like 9 years now. Been on YouTube for that long. But many times I have tried to search for my own videos and had a hard time finding them. I don't know why, and this is like an old problem. This isn't the new, YouTube's doing these crazy search algorithms that are ruining things for everyone. No, this is old. And I used a lot of different, markers and names and things to try to make my show easy to find. But sometimes my episodes just plain don't show up on YouTube, no matter how hard I try to search for them. It's very frustrating. But I've been doing GameBabble for a while, and I'm sure those people, like myself, probably tried to search and make sure GameBabble wasn't already taken, and probably couldn't find it because YouTube is useless. And now, when you search GameBabble, you get their show instead of mine. But only if you put a space in there. If there's no space, you should get my GameBabble. But anyway, yes, that is GameBabble Live Archive. Alternately, just searching GameBabble all one word, you'll find my show. Actually, searching GameBabble all one word will find my show and their show. Mine is the one that has the picture of me jumping with the Atari shirt. Theirs is the one where it's just like Atari text. Who the heck are you, Phil and Rick? Let's see, yeah, just... They only have 11 videos as opposed to my 320 videos. And yet somehow they're usually easier to find. And so begins the GameBabble Wars. Thank you, YouTube, for being useless. Yeah, no, search it all one word, you'll find my crap easy. Search it 2 words. YouTube, why are you useless? If you search GameBabble 2 words, I'm getting a bunch of weird bubble shooter games and stuff. Man, YouTube, you're just a pain in the butt. Anyway, so, good luck finding my show. It's on YouTube, though. Just, you'll know it when you see it. You'll know you've got the right GameBabble Live Archive when you look for it. Anyway, thank you, YouTube, for being a jerk. So, looking closer at the new character for SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy, who will apparently be fully revealed October 25th, and will be playable at London MCM Comic Con prior to release, it is looking like it's probably Miss X. So that'll be good. For anyone unfamiliar, Miss X is the end boss of SNK Gals Fighter, and it is cross-dressing Iori, and everyone loves that, and has been demanding that Miss X be added to SNK Heroines for a while. So it'll be good to see Miss X show up. Hooray. Moving on. A leak from Target reveals Lego Overwatch sets. Let's see. Images and information regarding 6 of the upcoming Lego Overwatch sets have been leaked. Previously, Tracer and other minifigs were teased and an Omnic Bastion set was revealed ahead of BlizzCon 2018. Target leak has resulted in image sets for 6 different sets. So let's see. Bastion, 602-piece set that lets you build Bastion and Ganymede in his standard or turret form. Overwatch Dorado Showdown, 419-piece set with McCree, Reaper, and Soldier. 76 minifigs. Dorado map setting. Diva and Reinhardt, 455-piece set. Lets people build Diva's mech and Reinhardt's armor. Hanzo and Genji, 197-piece set with Genji and Hanzo minifigs, a security agent minifig, and the Hanamura altar with sword. That one's looking like it'll be the cheapest of them, along with Tracer and Widowmaker, 129-piece set. Small jet for Tracer, comes with both minifigs. And Overwatch Watchpoint, Gibraltar, 730-piece set with Mercy, Pharah, Reaper, and Winston minifigs. That one looks pricey. But yeah, okay, so, Overwatch Lego. That's a thing now. And yeah. Let's see, anything else? I think we might be good on all of our crazy video game news. I feel like I've missed something. I'll probably figure it out later. But yeah, I kind of... kind of blazed through today's episode. we had so much to cover that I did not pace myself. Either way, it's been a hoot. I'm so glad that you've joined us for GameBabble Live. I'm less glad about Sony's new censorious policies, or Soul Calibur VI screwing me over, or how horribly designed PC VR headsets are. The tracking may be better, but oh egad, no, PC VR is in beta. It is not finished. They need a second generation of headsets real bad. Yeah, that is about where we're at. So thanks again for joining us for GameBabble Live, your video game news and information show, which airs every Tuesday from noon to 3 p.m. We will be back next week. Who knows what will happen in that time? Do remember that Spirited Away is going to be hitting theaters again, so that'll be enjoyable. And then shortly after that, on November 4th, we've got some Dragon Ball Z double features hitting theaters as well. Good times for all. Anyway, thanks again for joining us for GameBabble Live. It's been a pleasure. Hope to see you next week. Hope to get today's episode up onto YouTube quickly, and hope that you all can find it. But until then, time for me to head out. So here is Give Love by Andy Grammer featuring Lunch Money Lewis. Here on 89.5 FM, KCFV The Wave. Diverse music for your diverse mind. Thank you so much for listening. See you next week.